Welcome to the Panic Room, where we talk about all things panic-inducing. I am the Queen of Panic. Warning, some episodes may contain content that may be disturbing to others. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let the games begin.
When I was younger, probably 14 or 15, my family and I were staying at a hotel in the US. My parents and brother had left because my brother had to have surgery early and didn't want to wake me. This was a normal thing. We had done it since I was 8. Because it was July and I thought I was grown, I decided to go to the pool and tan and swim for a little bit. I have a thing for falling asleep in the sun, and this time was no different. After an hour of swimming and tanning, I fell asleep on the recliners, those chairs that you can lay on by the pool, face down. After a while, like 2 hours, I woke up. In all my grogginess, I hear 2 women in front of me talking to me. When I finally woke up completely, I understood that they were asking me if I knew a group of men that were sitting on the other side of the pool. These were 3 to 4 men in their late 50s. I told them I didn't, and they told me that the men were taking pictures of me while I was asleep and laughing. With the position I was in, my butt was directly towards them. I got so scared, but I didn't want to preoccupy my parents even more until I had some solutions. So I did what I thought was best. Don't ask me where I got the courage from to do this, but I went over to the men and asked them directly if they were taking pictures of me. At first, they denied it, but after I told them I was 13 and had already marked 911 on my phone to tell them they had child pornography on their phones, I hadn't done any of this, I just wanted to scare them. They admitted it, and I had them show me that they deleted them from the albums from recently deleted. I was shaking. I didn't know how they were going to react to any of this. But alas, I persevered. After this whole ordeal with the group of men, I went to the front desk to tell them everything that happened. They were very apologetic, and they had 2 security guards go with me to the pool to see if we could find the guys. Obviously, they weren't there. I gave them an overall description of the men, and they told me if I saw them, they would take action. After all of this, I called my parents and told them everything. They told me not to leave the room and to order room service. Everything was okay until one day I saw one of the men in the lobby. I was so scared I couldn't do anything. Nothing happened from that encounter, but the feeling that involved me was so paralyzing that I remember it to this day. That's my story. Not as creepy as others in this sub, but to me being 14 to 15 and going through this was terrifying. Last summer, I took 2 of my kids and 2 of my daughter's friends to a Renaissance fair. As we were leaving, the girls, 15, 15, and 16, were walking ahead of us when I could see a man approach them and appear to ask to take their pictures. He had camera equipment, so my first thought was he was with the fair, taking pictures to be sold. When I got up close to them, I realized he didn't have an employee shirt or any indication of who he was. I stopped him from taking the picture and politely asked why he was taking a picture of my girls. Just one is mine, but he didn't need to know that. He had the gall to bristle and say,
"Well, first of all, because they said I could."
And turned his back to me. Wrong thing to do. I stepped in front of him and said, "Absolutely not. You're not taking pictures of them." The girls were confused, and the dude tried to motion to them to step to the side. I raised my voice to make a scene and said, "You are not taking pictures of my girls." He asked which one was mine. I glared at him with my best teacher glare and said, All of them. He shook his head and started to walk off, then turned to hand 2 of them business cards and said to call him. I grabbed them out of his hands and told him to leave. He stormed off. The cards had perforations on the edges and looked as though he made them at home. They advertised him as a modeling agent with a phone number. The kids wanted to know why I was mean to him. They had also assumed he was with the fair. After I explained that if he'd been legit, he would have looked for a parent rather than avoiding one, and I explained what kind of modeling he may have had in mind. I could see it click with them, and they were completely creeped out. The audacity on this dude. So for starters, I'm a 17-year-old girl, and me and my family and a family friend were at Myrtle Beach today. What started was I was waiting for my stepmom and dad to get done with the shower thing they have at pools and beaches, because I already got my swimsuit cleaned off, and this middle-aged dude comes up to me and says something. I wasn't sure what he said, but then he asked me how I was and walked off with 2 beer bottles in his hands. About 20 minutes later, my dad's friend let me fly his kite, and I'm starting to fly it, and the same dude just starts video recording me. I was pretty uncomfortable, but I'm kind of shy and awkward, so I didn't say anything. And I thought he was recording the kite, but no, he was recording me. He knelt down in front of me and pointed the camera towards me, and I was really uncomfortable but brushed it off. And he was recording for like 10 to 15 seconds. Then I decided to move back like 20 feet to my parents while still flying the kite, and the guy comes right back asking for a video. I didn't know what to say, so I just tried to keep my face out the camera. After he left, I noticed that he was sitting by himself at the beach, and I thought he was waiting for family, but no, he was there by himself. Now I feel a bit nervous because he had his phone out for a long time after taking a video of me, and I'm hoping he didn't send it to anyone. I hope I'm just being paranoid, and he just wanted pics of things at the beach, but I don't know. This happened when I was a teen/early 20s. I am female. I would regularly walk to the local lake, park, or fields alone. Mind you, this is before cell phones and internet. One afternoon, I headed through the fields and was on my way to the lake when I felt something really weird in my gut, telling me not to go. I felt creeped out and decided to change paths and head to the baseball/soccer field. The whole walk there I felt kind of tense, but I just figured I was shaken up by something at the lake. I got to the soccer field and sat on a swing set. I could easily see a fair distance around me and felt pretty safe. I lost track of time, I guess, and suddenly it started to get dark. I was about 20 to 25 minutes from home and decided to head back. I got off the swing and immediately feel complete terror wash over me. I hear someone's voice, a man's voice. It said something, but I couldn't make out what it was. I freeze and listen. Every hair on my body standing up. Suddenly, I hear a click and flash, a white flash of light. I immediately hear that disposable camera post-picture ringing sound, and the loud, rapid clicking of the camera person rolling the film. I am in a full panic at this point. I have 3 exit points. One leads back and towards the lake. The second exit is where the camera person is. The only other option is the opening in a fence nearly a football field away. On the other side of the fence is a neighborhood, lights, people. I take off in a full sprint. I hear a rustling/thudding sound and another click, flash, ring, wind the film. Tears stream down my face and I tear through the grass. I draw my knife and fly through the gate and down another pathway, behind the houses on the right. I duck in a ditch in a backyard where I am far off the path, hidden, but can see whoever comes into the cul-de-sac. I have pepper spray too, and grip it in my right hand, shaking. My heart is pounding as I stare at the opening and wait. I wait for what feels like an eternity, but nobody comes through. I went to a friend's house who lived nearby and stayed with her for the night. I never went to the lake, park, fields alone again. I don't know who or what was nearby, but I felt like something's pray. I have a bad memory and was drinking this night, so please excuse any foggy details, like parts where I said I think. It was a cool night in the beginning of the year, and I was out with my then friend, female, and we were expecting our male friend to meet up with us sometime that night. This bar has its fair share of weirdos. One time I was outside putting makeup on, and some guy asked what I was doing, and when I replied that I was putting on mascara, he goes,
"You're better than that mascara."
Then I felt like he was staring at me later. But anyways, I'm looking pretty good, but I'm also covered by my late mother's favorite leather jacket. I'm not sure when or how exactly this happened, but this older guy at the bar all of a sudden ends up trying to take pictures of me. I don't even remember if he said anything, but the flash was definitely on, which made me super uncomfortable. I attempted to block my face with my arm once I noticed the flash, because it was weird, and I didn't want him to take a picture of me, nor did I tell him it was okay. In fact, I was protesting it out loud. A girl I'd never met before had seen what happened, then came to my rescue and quite boldly confronted him and took his phone from him, ultimately trying to delete the picture of me. I think she ended up being unsuccessful and just making him a little agitated. But that was pretty intense to see, as it could have gone extremely awry. I didn't see his phone for myself, but she told me you couldn't see my face in the picture. She tried to delete it, but I think he got the phone back first, and that he had pictures of other random women in what sounded like very candid settings, where they assuredly didn't know he was taking pictures of them. After this, I awkwardly and more than likely over-passively tried to ask him to delete the picture of me. He didn't want to. I asked him why he took a picture, and he said he worked for CNN, and it's his job to take pictures of beautiful things, and proceeded to tell me how I was the most beautiful woman in the bar. Like that would make everything okay, and make him look less creepy somehow. Since he said he worked for CNN, which I knew was a lie, I asked him what his name was. All he said was that it was David. So I naturally asked him his last name, and he said he couldn't tell me that. Ultimately, my state doesn't have a law against taking people's pictures, so it wasn't like I could press charges. I was just thankful that he didn't in fact catch my face, but it's still creepy as fuck that people think that kind of behavior is okay. Needless to say, it was really weird and gross, and I cringed thinking about it. Hopefully, he loses his pictures someday. So yesterday, the scariest thing to have ever happened to me happened at my local Walmart. It was a Black Friday, and they had a printer on sale that my fiancé and I really wanted, and he wanted to pick up some other Christmas gifts that were on sale. We entered the store together and went our separate ways to do our shopping. By the time I get back to the printer, I know my fiancé should be coming back in soon, so I was going to stay in that general area. So I pulled my phone out to text him where I was going to be, and I pushed the cart right in front of the printer display out of the aisle because I knew people were behind me. The guy behind me walks past me and turns around to take a picture of the printer display. Naturally, in these kinds of situations, I move out of the way because I don't want to be in some random person's pictures. I'm not really thinking anything of it until he starts to hover there after taking the picture and does nothing. Like he stands around with his phone still out, looking around, not sure what he wants to do with his camera still on. At this point, I'm just staying aware of what's going on around me because I didn't want to be in people's way just standing there, trying to decide if I wanted to wait there for my fiancé or go do some shopping. So I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy gets me, he doesn't know what to do either. But then, He turns around completely to look at a pair of young boys' boxers and takes a picture. Like, you can see the click when a photo is taken, and he acted like he took the photo, but he didn't. I thought that was strange, so I was like, whatever. I'm gonna get out of here to get done with shopping faster. As I turn to leave, I notice that he is now also starting to move, and he is moving his phone around. So I turn around and start to act like I'm not sure where I want to go or what I want to do. What does this guy do? He stops moving and starts to look around like he's unsure of what he needs to do. This is when I start to get a bit suspicious. The whole time I am staring this man right in the face and facing his direction in case he looks at me. I mean, he was a few feet away from me. I knew he knew I was looking his way, and he wouldn't take the picture. He continued to look confused, and that's when I decided I'm going to leave. So I turn the opposite direction and start to walk faster, and I realize he is also walking behind me, so I come to a stop and turn around to face his direction. He proceeds to walk past me a few feet, and I have my head turned to see him, and then he stops, turns around, sees me looking at him, and walks past me to grab a printer. At this point, I'm starting to freak out. I decided to call my fiancé and ask him loudly where he was, and when he was going to get back to the printers again. I didn't want to tell him what I thought was happening because I really wasn't sure. Maybe I was being paranoid, right? There was an older lady trying to come down the aisle, and I'm ignoring her, trying to act like I'm not paying attention to them, and asking my fiancé where he is. Well, the guy goes to grab a printer, and I want to point out that the whole time this was going on, his iPhone was still in his hand, and his camera was still on, and waving his phone around. Never once exited the camera screen. As he is grabbing the printer, he aligns his phone to the edge of the printer box to perfectly leave his phone camera pointing directly at me. If you have an iPhone, you know you can use the volume button to take pictures, and that's exactly where this guy's finger was. He proceeds to try and distract me to tell me that the older lady was trying to get through. All the while, he was laughing and smiling to the lady, talking about he couldn't believe I was just standing there. He walks away with her, and that's when I start to fully realize that there is no way what had just happened was a normal situation. It's also interesting that once I was asking my fiancé where he was and when he'd be back there, that he started to gather himself to leave. Right? So I followed after the lady and apologized to her, saying I was scared the man that was just talking to her was trying to take pictures of me. This lady said that the man was talking to her about me, and she basically ignored him, and he went the other way. That's when it clicked that I should just go ask the guy if he had just taken pictures of me. It shouldn't be that big of a deal if it's a misunderstanding, and I was just in his way. I wasn't at all in his way. Well, he looks at me all shocked, confused, and goes on to say,
What, huh? What are you talking about? What? Huh?
If you have any stories that you would like to see narrated here on the channel, please go into the subreddit and submit them there. The link is in the description. Also, we do have a Discord now. Thank you so much to Creepy Clown Girl for putting it together for us. You can come hang out with me and other narrators and get the party started, get spooky with us. That link is also in the description as well. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to introduce the King of Panic. We have a lot of brand new content coming soon with him in it. He is very talented. He does not have his own channel. He just kind of wants to be a part of this. So if you would like to hear from him once you start and you like his voice, stay tuned here. And as always, thank you for visiting the Panic Room. You have successfully made it to the next portion of your tour. Please stay tuned for your next prompt. Click the like button and subscribe to receive notifications for when the next portion of your tour is ready to join. Thank you for watching. Don't let the panic drown you.